I sparred a professional fighter and I got head kicked on the same day as well. And yeah, I learned a bunch of things that day, and since then I've carried them out just in general in life, but usually while I'm sparring other people as well. So this happened a few months ago. I used to go to a fight gym, and basically they train like lots of really good fighters there. You guys probably know Israel Adesanya. The other guy, his name is Ben Johnston, and he owns the place. And yeah, he basically trains a bunch of fighters there. He just retired a couple of weeks ago, so that was kind of sad. I wanted to see him in the UFC, but you know, it is what it is. So what happened was, this was a Saturday, and Saturday is sparring day. So I went to the gym, and what you usually do is you kind of warm up, and once you're all warm, then everybody steps onto the mat and they start sparring. And you spar for 1 minute, and then there's a 30-second rest, and then you spar for 1 minute, and then there's a 30-second rest, and then you just keep going. And every time you spar, the idea is you change and you go to somebody else. So if I spar one person, after 1 minute I go to the next person and then the next person, and we just keep sparring for maybe 1 to 2 hours. And yeah, it gets pretty tiring in the end, but the good thing is you don't have to spar for the full length. You can just spar for, let's say, 5-10 minutes, and then take a 5-minute rest or 10-minute rest or 15-minute rest, whatever, and then come back in and then spar for a bit more. So the way it usually works is it's divided into 2 different groups. One, we've got the people who are just learning, or who are not even amateur level, and then we've got the amateurs and professionals. So obviously I was in the non-amateur, non-professional, just a normal sort of person who was learning. And when we were doing that at around 10 a.m. probably, that's when Ben Johnston and all of his teammates all came in, and they started sparring on the mat next to us. And I remember as soon as all of them walked in, everybody was just looking at them, because we had just finished the sparring. We had just finished that 1 minute, and we had that 30-second rest, and that's when those guys came in, and everybody was just looking at them, because these guys, they're legitimate killers. They could kill you if they wanted to, right, with one punch. And everybody admires them, obviously. Some of them fight in the PFL, some of them are going to fight in the UFC, and you know, these guys are very high level. So it's always nice to see somebody so high level training right next to you. And yeah, I remember it was really good. And then they started training, and we were just training out by ourselves as well. And I remember there was an instant where, like I told you, we spar for 1 minute and then we take 30 seconds off, I think. And then after that 1 minute, we were just about to take a 30 seconds off, and that was the exact time when those professional fighters, they were all taking a break. So they were all going back, but one guy stayed back. I unfortunately, I don't know his name, but he stayed back, and he was looking for another partner, and he saw that all the other professional fighters went away. Remember, he's one of the professional fighters, and all the professional fighters went away for a break as well, and he was the only one there. So he started looking for one of us to spar with, and the first person he looked to was me, because I was very close to him, and he was like, "Let's go, bro." So then we started sparring. If you've ever sparred someone, you know that you're having a bit of a conversation with them, whether it's mental, physical, fuck me, I can't speak. And anyone who's done a little bit of sparring knows that whenever you're fighting someone, you're actually having a bit of a conversation with them, whether it's friendly or unfriendly. You're having a conversation that's non-verbal. And I remember when we were sparring, there was a lot of smiling going on. And the overall gist of the conversation was, from his perspective, this is what I saw. He was basically saying, I can fuck you up whenever I want, but I choose not to because I'm a nice guy. And I was basically saying, thank you for the opportunity. Let's just keep it light, because I know I can't fight you in real life. And that was the main conversation that we were having. And I remember I did a spinning back kick in the last 10 or 15 seconds, and we kind of laughed it off, and then and then we kept sparring, and then he did a spinning back kick as well, and it was very fast as well. And I remember it was just such a nice experience. He was so nice. He showed me, like, block, keep your guard up, make sure you keep your gloves nice and close if you're going to block like this. Otherwise, if you're out here, then someone can just punch you and then your hand is going to hit you, so it still hurts. I should have already known this, but he was just telling me like a bunch of really, really good tips, and he was such a nice guy. And later on in the sparring, I think this happened in the same day. Perhaps I got head kicked too hard that I don't remember. But I remember in the same day there was another guy who had just joined the gym that day, and he might have been maybe 40 years old, and he wasn't a professional fighter, but or an amateur fighter either, but he was fully ripped and everything, and you can tell that he had some sort of experience fighting. And I remember we were sparring each other, and I threw a question mark kick, which is one of my favorite kicks. And after that, I remember him being kind of surprised. He was like, whoa. And because he was surprised, like I just said, I'm sorry, bro, like I didn't mean to like surprise you, because he was a pretty tall guy, so my question mark kick was just supposed to go to my head level. That probably only went to his shoulder level, because he was a pretty tall guy. But I remember him just looking at me in the eyes, and he was like, oh bro, I'm Tongan, G, it's all good, I'm Tongan. And I'm like, fuck me, like what's gonna happen now? Because like at that moment, like I knew I fucked up. So I was like, okay, let's see what happens. I didn't actually hit him, and it wasn't even a hard kick. It was a proper sparring kick. It wasn't a kick with bad intentions or anything, but it was still a fast one. So we kept going, and before you know it, he head kicked me, and yeah, the rest is history. I lost my memory. But he head kicked me, and there was no ill intentions behind it. And this is a different guy, obviously. This isn't the professional guy. This is a different guy. He had kicked me, and I remember just feeling like ding in my ears. My ears were ringing, and I could still stand properly, and I was fine. I wasn't knocked out or knocked down or anything, because he did hold his kick back quite a bit. But I remember just the feeling of feeling a little bit dazed, and I can only imagine if there were no shin pads, and if he went fully hard with that kick, the amount of damage that would do. And then after that, it was all smiles, and we shook hands, and then we moved on to the next sparring partner, and we went from there. But the moral of the story is you have to sort of read the room, right? What did I learn from this experience is you get what you give. If you're going up against a guy who's really nice, sorry, my memory card just got full, so I had to delete a bunch of stuff and get back. But what's the moral of the story? What did I mainly learn? The main thing I learned was read the room, and you get what you give, right? If I'm going up against someone who's professional, who knows his way around, who's in a good mood, and he knows that I don't know much, so he's going to take it easy on me, I can take things a bit more, I can try new things and see how I go with him, because he knows that he's going to take care of me regardless. Whereas if I'm going up against someone who's perhaps not as good, and someone who might take offense to something that I do, that could be bad for me. That's detrimental for me in the future. And you get what you give. It's equal on opposite sides. But that's what I need to be sort of cautious about going forward whenever I'm sparring someone. So that's what I do now. Like I train karate right now, and my main thing is I'll go easy and I'll be respectful. But if I see someone trying to one-up me and trying to get a cheap shot, or if they go before the count, I will clock them in the face, because they should know better, especially when I'm sparring other black belts and brown belts and things like that. Because at that level, you should know how to control yourself. But if you're constantly trying to be a dickhead, what I would do before was I'd just take it and I'd be like, you know what, fine, I'm not going to fight, whatever. I'm just going to go home, eat some nice lunch, and then I'll come back to training the next day. But now I know it's different because whenever I tried something different against the wrong guy, I got punished for it. And that made me realize, you can't just try out everything against everyone all the time. You really have to read the room. And sometimes I have people come up to me and be like, all right, let's go hard, brother. Maybe let's not punch to the face because we don't have any gloves on right now, but let's go hard to the body. Let's go fast. Let's do this. Let's do that. In those situations, I find it very fun because we've got an agreement, right? We're going to spar this way. We're going to fight this way. But sometimes when, people agree that, okay, we're only going to go by count. So what our sensei does is he says, ich, ni, san, chi. And whenever he does the count, that's when you're supposed to go. Some people, they're mentally not there. And whenever sensei does a count, they just disregard it and they go before the count. And that really pisses me off. So going forward, I think I do want to carry that bit of energy. Like if I see someone who's new to this, I want them to kind of experiment and try all their things out. And if I see someone who's more experienced than me, or just as experienced as I am, they need to make sure that they follow the rules. Otherwise, I have to punch them in the face. But yeah, that was the main thing that I learned. You got to read the room. You got to be aware of your surroundings, and yeah, just use your basic common sense. Otherwise you get hit. Because now we live in a world where you don't get hit in the face as much as you probably should. And I know no one's probably told you this before, but you should probably get punched in the face more. And yeah, probably not to the point where you get brain damage or anything, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? When you get punched in the face, you get a direct consequence of your action, or in my case, getting head kicked. And I think that puts you in a state where you're very aware of your surroundings and you're able to navigate through life with a bit more caution in general. So that's the main thing that I learned, and it was a really good experience training with those guys. For the most part, it was really good, and even that Tongan guy, he was a really nice guy. I have no problems with him, and I'm glad he head kicked me, because that now I'll make sure I keep my hand up. And yeah, it was a good experience. But yeah, that's what happened, and that's what I learned. Hope that made sense. I'll see you guys next time.